I remember the moment I stepped out of the jeep, the cold air hitting me like a slap. It seeped into my bones, wrapping around me with an unsettling embrace. My excitement from earlier started to wane as I surveyed my surroundings. The towering pines loomed overhead, their shadows stretching ominously across the ground. I waved dismissively at them, but deep down, I felt a sense of discomfort settle in my stomach. Gabriella was already unpacking our gear, her laughter echoing through the stillness of the woods. I listened to her voice, its warmth providing a familiar comfort as I tried to shake off the chill creeping into my mind. But something felt off, something beyond just the cold air. An unease lingered, curling around my thoughts like mist. As I began to set up our tent, I heard it, a delicate chiming sound that drifted through the trees. At first, it seemed sweet and inviting, however, as it resonated in my chest, an unsettling feeling washed over me. It was beautiful yet haunting, a melody that twisted and turned in ways that made my skin prickle. I looked around for its source, hoping to catch sight of something tangible, a wind chime or perhaps a hidden bell. Instead, my phone slipped from my numb fingers and hit the ground with a dull thud. Jen's face shattered on the screen just as I had been about to call her for reassurance. Panic crashed over me like an icy wave that stole my breath away. My heart raced as the chiming grew louder and more insistent, intertwining with the sounds of rustling leaves and creaking branches. Gabriella paused mid-laugh, her expression shifting from amusement to concern as she noticed my sudden stillness. "What's wrong?" she asked, stepping closer. I don't know." My voice trembled as I gestured toward the trees where the sound originated. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Gabriella's brow furrowed in confusion. I hesitated before answering because part of me wanted to brush it off as nothing more than nature playing tricks on me. But another part, a deeper instinct, urged me to be cautious. "The bells, they were just ringing," I finally said. Gabriella shook her head lightly and rolled her eyes playfully before turning back to our things. "It's probably just some weird bird or something." "Yeah," I muttered under my breath, but doubt gnawed at me like a hungry animal. As we settled into our campsite and prepared for our weekend retreat from reality, that haunting chime lingered in my mind like a whisper barely out of reach. Time passed slowly in this isolated haven. I tried to immerse myself in our activities, roasting marshmallows over the fire and sharing stories, but each laugh felt hollow against that eerie backdrop of nature's whisperings. Every crackle from the fire drew my attention back toward those darkened woods where shadows danced between trunks. It wasn't until night fell that tension truly escalated. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that twisted and morphed into something sinister among the trees. Gabriella had fallen asleep inside the tent while I remained outside, staring into the flickering flames of our campfire. At that moment, everything shifted again. Darkness enveloped me like a heavy blanket suffocating all light. Then came another sound, a rustling from beyond our campsite that sent jolts of adrenaline coursing through me. I got up slowly and grabbed a flashlight from beside me. Its beam sliced through darkness but revealed nothing out of place, just more trees swaying gently in response to an unseen breeze. "Hello?" My voice wavered slightly as it echoed into silence. Suddenly there it was again, the chiming sound. This time louder and closer than before. It reverberated through the night air like laughter echoing from some distant realm beyond comprehension. It wasn't sweet anymore, it was mocking. "Gabriella." My heart raced furiously as panic surged once more within me, fear clawed at every rational thought remaining in my head while urgency propelled me forward toward the tent where she slept peacefully unaware of what loomed outside. I unzipped it quickly without hesitation but stopped short when confronted by her sleepy expression illuminated by moonlight filtering through fabric walls. The innocence mingled with oblivion terrified me even more than any lurking shadow outside could conjure up. "Melody? What is it?" she murmured groggily while rubbing her eyes. "Did you hear those bells?" I demanded urgently despite knowing she wouldn't understand their significance, how they felt tied directly to something lurking within these woods waiting patiently for us to let our guard down completely. "No," she said softly while yawning widely before settling back down onto her sleeping bag again without concern for whatever haunted us outside our sanctuary beneath stars filled with secrets yet untold, ones best left buried deep within earth rather than exposed beneath wandering souls who dared disturb them. My pulse quickened again as another rustle broke free from behind nearby trees. It sounded too deliberate now. With shaky hands gripping tightly onto flashlight illuminating only emptiness ahead, a choice emerged within darkness threatening consume everything, either confront whatever awaited or retreat back inside where safety hid behind flimsy walls woven together by threads spun from dreams forgotten. In that moment everything shifted once more, realization dawned upon me like dawn breaking over horizon, a warning long dismissed echoed loudly now, some things ought not be disturbed. Seizing courage despite lingering doubt coursing through veins, I took one step forward into unknown void stretching endlessly before me. If you're enjoying this so far, leave a like. I remember the moment the silence shattered. My heart raced as I bolted deeper into the forest, driven by a terror I couldn't fully grasp. The world around me blurred, branches clawing at my clothes like desperate hands. My lungs burned, but I pushed harder, desperate to escape whatever unseen threat lurked behind me. Each step felt heavier, as if the very ground was conspiring to hold me back. Suddenly, my foot caught on a gnarled root, and I tripped hard. Pain shot through my palms as pine needles embedded themselves in my skin, but I scrambled up immediately. There was no time to linger, panic surged through me like an electric current. I glanced around wildly, realizing nothing looked familiar. The woods had transformed into a maze of shadows and twisted forms. A profound silence enveloped me, pressing against my ears until it became deafening. In that disorientation, I noticed a faint glow cutting through the darkness. It came from my shattered phone screen lying on the ground nearby. I staggered toward it, breath hitching in my throat. As I bent down to pick it up, the chilling words illuminated the dimness. They hunt at night. Keep running. My pulse quickened even more as fear wrapped its icy fingers around my throat. I looked up in a panic. The forest seemed to darken unnaturally around me. Shadows grew solid and stretched toward me like ravenous beasts eager for their prey. The trees whispered secrets I couldn't decipher, their voices merging into an unsettling chorus that made my skin crawl. My mind raced. What did it mean? Who were they? A surge of dread propelled me forward again. I needed to escape this suffocating place filled with ominous signs and warnings. Each heartbeat echoed in my ears as I sprinted past ancient trunks and thick underbrush that seemed to close in around me. As I pushed through the thick foliage, branches snagged at my clothes like grasping fingers trying to pull me back into their depths. Every sound sent shockwaves of fear through me, the rustle of leaves, the snap of twigs underfoot, each noise heightened my anxiety further. My breath came in ragged gasps as adrenaline coursed through my veins. Then suddenly it happened. I passed out, overwhelmed by fear and exhaustion that crashed over me like an unrelenting wave. The last thing I remember was that chilling message burning into my mind: they hunt at night. It lingered there even as darkness took over completely. When consciousness returned, disorientation washed over me once more. Everything felt wrong and distorted in this unfamiliar landscape of trees and shadows. I could barely make out shapes looming above me as dawn's light began to creep into the forest, a weak veil against the lingering terror that had seized hold during nightfall. Still lying on the damp ground, confusion flooded my thoughts as fragments of memory pieced together. Gabriella. Where was she? Panic clawed at my insides anew as I struggled to sit up, every muscle protesting against movement after resting too long. I scanned the area frantically for any sign of her presence or safety, but all that met my searching gaze were those same towering pines surrounding me in their oppressive silence. Desperation clawed at my throat. Time was slipping away from us both. Gabriella. My voice echoed weakly among the trees like a plea cast adrift on an endless sea of uncertainty. The stillness mocked me in return. No response met my call except for distant rustling far off behind where I had just come from. Something shifted within those shadows, dread pooled in my stomach like poison seeping into every crevice of thought. I pushed myself up onto shaky legs and stumbled forward instinctively. Instinct drove each step while reason struggled to keep pace with reality spiraling out of control around me. Shouldn't we have been laughing by now? Roasting marshmallows? Instead, this haunting uncertainty gripped tighter than ever before. As if sensing my turmoil anew, whispers began creeping back into existence among branches overhead, an eerie symphony that felt both familiar yet foreign at once, a melody echoing memories long buried beneath layers of mundane life. Just then, a flicker caught my eye, a flash of something bright among tangled roots nearby drew attention away from surrounding shadows threatening to close ranks once more around me. With hesitant steps fueled by hope or perhaps foolishness, I approached cautiously towards whatever lay hidden beneath damp foliage below. It turned out to be Gabriella's backpack. Relief washed over me momentarily until reality settled heavily upon realization. She wasn't here with it, not yet anyway, and what had happened since last night weighed heavily upon every breath drawn within this suffocating atmosphere surrounding us, both now separated by unknown forces lurking within these dark woods. My heart sank further down into an abyss filled with doubt and despair. Had something sinister occurred during those hours lost beneath haunting stars? Or was it merely another trick played by nature itself? Questions swirled relentlessly within. However much clarity existed remained shrouded behind walls built from fear alone. Not knowing how much time slipped away or if help would ever come again left only uncertainty lingering between breaths taken amidst this surreal nightmare unfolding all around. I woke to bitter cold and oppressive darkness, feeling invisible eyes watching me. My breath came out in puffs, visible in the chilling air that wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket. As I struggled to sit up, confusion clouded my mind. I couldn't remember how I had ended up here. The forest felt alien, twisted and foreboding, shadows dancing in the corners of my vision. Panic surged anew as I looked around, desperate for a familiar landmark or any sign of Gabriella. Then I looked up and saw 3 pale, silver moons arranged in a triangle above me, their eerie glow casting an otherworldly light over the clearing. Their luminescence felt wrong, unsettling, a stark contrast to the darkness that enveloped everything else. I tried to shake off the feeling creeping through my bones, but it clung to me like a shadow, refusing to let go. Suddenly, I heard the chilling sound of bells again, vibrating through the clearing. The haunting melody sent shivers racing down my spine. It was as if the woods themselves were calling out to something unseen. The chiming echoed, weaving through the branches like a sinister lullaby meant to lure me deeper into this nightmarish realm. As I staggered to my feet, I watched as figures emerged from a freestanding bone-white door that had appeared inexplicably amidst the trees. My heart raced as they stepped forward, their movements unsettling, disjointed and unnatural. Each figure seemed cloaked in shadows yet illuminated by an inner light that highlighted their grotesque features. They didn't walk so much as glide across the ground toward me. I saw their dozens of eyes glow in unnatural colors, greens and purples that burned with an intensity that paralyzed me where I stood. It felt like being caught in a predator's gaze. Every instinct screamed for me to flee, but my body refused to obey. It was as if time itself had slowed down, stretching each moment into an eternity filled with dread. Just then, one of them stumbled forward, collapsing onto the ground with a wet thud that echoed ominously in the stillness of night. My breath hitched, even without seeing what had caused it. Horror coursed through me like ice water. I pressed my fist against my mouth, trapping a scream deep within as wet sounds followed, the kind of sounds that no one should ever have to hear in such a serene setting. I felt my stomach churn violently at the realization of what I was witnessing. Something far beyond comprehension unfolded before my eyes. The figures gathered around their fallen companion with an unsettling curiosity that made bile rise in my throat. It was all too surreal. Fear clawed at my insides as fragments of understanding began to coalesce in my mind. These beings were not of this world. Desperation took hold of me then. Instinct urged me to break free from this nightmare. With every ounce of strength left in me, I turned on my heel and ran blindly into the forest once more. Branches whipped against my skin as if trying to keep me tethered to this wretched place. The path blurred around me while panic surged through every fiber of my being, my thoughts scattered like leaves caught in a tempest. My heart pounded violently against my ribcage, each beat echoed in sync with the whispers swirling among the trees. Suddenly, a sensation prickled at the back of my neck, a certainty that they were chasing after me now. Their laughter pierced through the canopy like shards of glass. It wasn't human laughter but rather something darker and more sinister, an echoing mockery of joy that twisted into madness. I could hear them drawing closer, pulsing whispers mingled with those chilling bells that seemed determined to usher me toward whatever fate awaited within this cursed grove. My legs burned with exhaustion but propelled forward by sheer terror. There was no room for hesitation or doubt now. In one fleeting moment between breaths filled with fear and despair, clarity struck like lightning. Gabriella. Where was she? Panic gripped tighter around my chest, her absence felt palpable, a missing piece from this twisted puzzle threatening to consume me whole. My vision narrowed on shadows darting between trunks, their shapes contorted into grotesque forms flickering on the edge of perception just beyond reach. Time lost meaning as adrenaline pushed me deeper into darkness. I had no idea where I was heading or what awaited ahead. Every instinct screamed at me not to look back. Still, I couldn't resist stealing glances over my shoulder just once more. And there they stood, the three moons illuminating their features now twisted into malevolent masks reflecting pure hunger, a promise etched upon their faces. A realization dawned upon me then: whatever lurked behind those eyes could only be satisfied by despair. But before understanding could fully sink its claws into my mind once again, I stumbled over roots hidden beneath layers of fallen leaves and crashed hard against the ground once more. Fear coursing through every vein threatened to overwhelm, leaving nothing but cold silence ringing deafeningly where hope once thrived. I approached the clearing slowly, my heart pounding as I took in the remnants of what had once been a campsite. Broken branches lay strewn across the ground, and my breath hitched when I noticed something dark and twisted among the underbrush. It was unrecognizable, a shadow of what it used to be. I cried until my throat burned, feeling utterly lost and without hope. The world felt like it was closing in around me, and despair seeped into my bones like the chill of the morning air. As I wiped my tears, I glanced down at my phone, still buzzing in my pocket despite having been dead moments before. My hands trembled as I pulled it out, squinting at the screen that illuminated with new words: stream on right. Keep going. A mixture of confusion and urgency coursed through me. What did it mean? Where was Gabriella? Panic clawed at my insides as I scanned the trees surrounding me, searching for any sign of life. I walked right, following an instinct I couldn't explain. With each step, the sound of running water began to reach my ears, a promise of safety amidst this chaos. My heart quickened. Maybe it would lead me back to familiar ground or even to Gabriella. The sound became louder, a beckoning melody urging me forward until I finally emerged from the shadows into a small clearing beside a stream that sparkled under the faint light filtering through the trees. As I crouched down to take a drink from the cool water, my phone buzzed again in my hand. This time, Mom's voice whispered through the static, a voice that felt impossibly far away yet achingly close. "Melody? Are you there? You need to find the door." Her words sent shivers racing down my spine, mingling with fear and confusion. What door? My mind raced back to that bone-white door I'd seen earlier, its image haunted me like a persistent ghost. Before I could respond or ask her anything more, the call abruptly cut off, leaving only silence and echoes of her urgency lingering in the air. Gripping my phone tightly as if it were a lifeline, dread settled over me like a heavy fog. How could she know where I was? How could she even be calling me now? It felt surreal, an impossible connection across a divide that should not exist. With every ounce of strength left within me, I pushed myself back up and stepped away from the stream's edge. The woods around me seemed alive with whispers again, words that slipped through the leaves but never quite reached my ears. Shadows darted between trees like restless spirits, each rustle sent fresh waves of anxiety coursing through me. I needed to find Gabriella and escape this nightmarish place before whatever hunted us caught up. As I moved deeper into the woods again, my feet stumbling over roots, I caught fleeting glimpses of movement just beyond my line of sight. My heart raced anew. Were they coming for me? Then another sound pierced through, the chilling chime of bells ringing out once more like an eerie invitation echoing through this twisted landscape. It reverberated in harmony with something darker lurking behind it, an echo that made every hair on my body stand on end. My breath came shallow as memories flooded back, those figures gliding toward me from that door, their glowing eyes burning into my soul. My pace quickened against instinct as panic surged within me like wildfire. There was no room for hesitation now. The trees seemed to close in around me as if they wanted to trap me within their embrace forevermore, a prison built from branches and shadows. In that moment, all sense of direction blurred as adrenaline fueled my flight, all thoughts coalesced into one singular goal: survival at any cost. Every crack underfoot echoed loudly against an otherwise oppressive silence while shadows danced menacingly just out of reach. Suddenly, something caught my attention, a flicker of movement ahead. Desperation surged through every fiber of my being as I stumbled forward on instinct alone, praying it would lead to safety or familiarity amidst this relentless nightmare. Just then, a soft voice broke through the cacophony within. The voice felt warm against everything else: melody. It called out softly yet urgently, as if reaching for a piece of hope lost in despair's grip. With renewed determination pulsing within me like electricity surging through wires, I followed that voice blindly until finally breaking free into another clearing, the sunlight flooding over everything around me with bright warmth juxtaposed against what lay behind. But when I looked up, nothing prepared me for what awaited beyond. Another door stood before me. Unlike any I'd seen before, it shimmered beneath sunlight like glass yet emanated darkness so deep that stepping closer felt akin to staring into an abyss filled with secrets begging to be uncovered. In this moment, it dawned on me how intertwined all these events had become: the phone call from Mom warning about doors, the cryptic messages urging movement toward streams, and now here stood another doorway promising escape but also uncertainty. My heart raced faster than ever. Should I enter? Could this truly lead back home, or further into whatever darkness waited beyond? I gripped that dead phone tightly, still clinging on to hope despite everything crumbling around. I had no choice but to decide quickly. I remember the moment I stumbled through the underbrush and found myself in a clearing, confusion swirling in my mind like the fog that clung to the trees. My heart raced as I saw a familiar sight: a green door standing alone, its paint peeling and weathered, yet unmistakably belonging to my father's house. The juxtaposition of this domestic structure against the wild forest felt surreal. I approached it cautiously, each step echoing with uncertainty. As I pushed the door open, the hinges creaked in protest, an eerie sound that seemed to resonate with my own trepidation. I stepped into our living room, and there he was, my father, slumped on the couch with a half-empty whiskey bottle nearby. A sense of relief washed over me, but it quickly mingled with dread as I took in his disheveled appearance. His eyes widened when he saw me, disbelief flickered across his face. "Melody? Is it really you?" His voice cracked as he struggled to comprehend my sudden return. I'm back," I stammered, my throat tightening with emotion. As I rushed toward him, I felt my arms wrap around him tightly. Relief and terror surged within me. 2 days had slipped away like sand through fingers while I wandered through those accursed woods. He returned the embrace but pulled back just enough to search my eyes for answers. "You've been gone for 2 days," he said slowly, his voice heavy with concern. "I thought," he trailed off, unable to finish his thought. I nodded absently, still grappling with the memories of shadows and whispers that haunted me. Things happened, strange things. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. My father's gaze darkened as he leaned back against the couch, rubbing his temples. "You don't understand," he murmured. "It's not just the woods." His admission sent chills down my spine. Something unspoken lingered between us. "What do you mean?" My voice trembled as fear clawed at my insides. After too much whiskey and hesitation, he finally confessed, "Your mother grew up near those woods." The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt a mix of anger and confusion rise within me. "She never told me," I whispered, struggling to process this new layer of truth. My mind raced back to stories she used to tell, tales steeped in mystery and caution that always felt too far removed from reality. "Melody," he continued softly, "she made me promise, if anything ever happened to you, if you ever got lost," his voice faltered as tears glistened in his eyes. I had to keep watch. The weight of his words settled heavily on my chest like a stone. Suddenly everything began to click into place, the bells in the night, the haunting melody that lured me deeper into darkness. It all stemmed from something ancient and familial that had been hidden from me. My pulse quickened as dread coiled tightly around my heart. "I need answers," I insisted, adrenaline surging through me again as memories of wandering those cursed woods flooded back, fragments of shadows darting just beyond my vision and whispers curling around me like smoke. "Then we have to look," he agreed reluctantly, pouring another glass of whiskey that shimmered ominously in the dim light. "The legends about those woods, they're real." His admission sent shockwaves through me, fear swirled in a chaotic dance with curiosity as I listened intently. My hands shook slightly as I reached for my phone again, the screen illuminated once more but now revealing a different message: "Find the truth." "I'll help you research," I declared fervently, determination igniting within me even amidst this whirlwind of emotions and revelations. My father's nod was hesitant but resolute. We both understood that diving into our family's past could lead us down paths we might not be prepared for. Together we gathered old books and faded newspaper clippings from dusty boxes stacked carelessly in corners of our home, a physical manifestation of secrets long buried beneath layers of time and grief. Each article spoke of missing persons who vanished without a trace near those cursed woods, stories interwoven with local legends about spirits haunting the forest at twilight. As we pieced together fragments of history, each sentence tightening the noose of understanding around my heart, I felt an overwhelming sense of urgency wash over us both. It became clear that whatever darkness lurked beyond those trees was not just an external threat, it was embedded deep within our family's legacy. I began researching further, beyond what was written on crumbling pages, to uncover what lay beneath the surface: ancient rituals performed by those who once roamed these lands long before us, their voices echoed through time like whispered warnings carried on autumn winds. Today, when I look back at that moment in our living room filled with memories both tender and hauntingly twisted together by fate's cruel hand, I realize how intertwined our lives are with those shadowy figures lingering just out of sight in those woods. This journey is far from over. Understanding may lead us closer to confronting whatever darkness lies ahead, but one thing remains clear: family secrets can shape destinies in ways unimaginable, and sometimes, facing them is our only hope for survival against unseen forces lurking within shadows we dare not fully comprehend. I remember the stillness that enveloped my father's house, a heavy silence that seemed to thrum with unspoken fears. The new normal felt anything but comforting. Each creak of the floorboards echoed with the weight of lingering dread. I lived with the unsettling knowledge that Michael Peterson's body was never found, a grim reminder of what could happen to those who ventured too close to the woods. As days passed, I often found myself wandering the edge of our property, my heart pounding with each rustling leaf and snapping twig. I saw Jen, my girlfriend, hiking beside me, her laughter fading as we approached the tree line. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced ominously between the trees. I wanted to smile at her enthusiasm, but unease gnawed at my insides. "Do you hear that?" My voice trembled as I turned to face her. "Bells. Like wind chimes." A chill washed over me as I spoke. It was the same haunting melody that had followed me in those cursed woods. Jen paused, her brows furrowing in confusion as she strained to listen. "I don't hear anything," she replied softly, concern creeping into her tone. But I heard it, the familiar chiming drifting through the branches like a ghostly whisper. A sense of terror gripped me, my blood ran cold as memories flooded back, echoes of laughter transformed into chilling cries for help. My hands shook as I grabbed Jen's wrist, pulling her back toward the house, fear surging fresh in my mind. "Let's go inside," I urged, urgency lacing my words as we stepped away from the tree-line's edge. The bells faded into an unsettling quietness behind us, but their ghostly presence lingered in my thoughts like a specter refusing to leave. Inside, shadows flickered across the walls from a single lamp casting dim light over our faces. I felt a chill settle deep within me, a mixture of dread and paranoia weighed heavily on my chest. We sat together at the kitchen table while I pored over old newspaper clippings and dusty books filled with local legends, stories warning of dangers lurking within those woods. I glanced up at Jen occasionally as she read aloud snippets from articles detailing missing persons and strange occurrences tied to those cursed trees. "Look at this," she said suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper as she pointed to a faded photograph of a woman standing near the forest's edge. The resemblance was uncanny. It could have been my mother in another life. My stomach twisted painfully at this revelation. It felt as if history was not just repeating itself but pulling me deeper into its grasp. "Your mom grew up near these woods too?" Jen asked cautiously, sensing my distress. I nodded slowly, unable to shake off the feeling that there were secrets buried beneath layers of time and grief, secrets that were now clawing their way back into our lives. The atmosphere grew thicker as darkness fell outside, shadows crept along the walls like creeping fingers reaching for us. "We need to confront this," I said firmly after several moments of silence hung heavily between us. Jen met my gaze with an intensity that made my heart race even faster than before. "You mean go back out there?" Her eyes widened slightly in disbelief. "Yes," I replied resolutely. "We have to understand what's happening." As we prepared for our return to those cursed woods, grabbing flashlights in each other's hands, I sensed an impending storm brewing both inside me and outside beyond our window panes. The wind howled fiercely against the glass as if warning us against our decision. Once outside again, under a canopy of stars obscured by dark clouds rolling in overhead, I felt every step carry an electric tension mixed with anticipation and dread. The bells returned suddenly, a haunting melody echoing through the trees like an invitation or perhaps a sinister lure beckoning us closer once more into its depths. My heart raced anew. This time it wasn't just memories haunting me, it was real and tangible, entwined within every shadow surrounding us. "We can turn back," Jen offered hesitantly as if sensing my growing trepidation. "No," I breathed sharply through clenched teeth, determination ignited within me once more despite fear threatening to pull me under again. As we reached the clearing where so much had unfolded days before, I felt something shift in the air around us, a palpable tension coiling tight like a snake ready to strike at any moment. Suddenly, without warning, the bells grew louder, a cacophony resonating through the night air like laughter twisted into something darker than mere sound itself. I froze, my blood ran cold once more. Was this what had haunted Michael? Was it watching us now? "Melody!" Jen called out urgently from beside me, her grip tightening around my wrist pulled me back from that precipice where curiosity threatened to consume reason entirely. I glanced back toward her just in time. The world spun around us like a dizzying carousel spiraling downward towards chaos, but one thing remained clear: whatever hunted these woods was not merely folklore, it was alive, and it would not stop until it claimed another soul. I remember the weight of the air pressing down on me as Jen and I stood at the edge of the trees, a sense of foreboding thickening the atmosphere around us. The darkness felt alive, swirling with secrets waiting to be uncovered. My heart pounded in rhythm with the echoing chimes that drifted through the night, each note luring us closer to whatever lay hidden within those cursed woods. The bells rang louder, taunting me, and I knew that ignoring them would only invite more chaos into our lives. With determination coursing through my veins, I took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We have to understand what this is," I said, forcing confidence into my voice despite the tremors that threatened to betray me. Jen nodded hesitantly beside me, her expression a mixture of fear and resolve as we pushed deeper into the forest together. The path twisted before us like a serpent, shadows dancing in the moonlight filtering through the branches overhead. Each step seemed to reverberate with an unsettling energy. It was as if the woods themselves were watching, waiting for us to reveal our intentions. I could almost hear whispers carried on the breeze, echoes of those who had vanished before us. As we ventured further, I stumbled upon remnants of past lives, an old backpack half buried beneath fallen leaves, its fabric frayed and torn. A chill ran down my spine as I bent down to inspect it. Michael Peterson's name was scrawled across a faded label. The realization hit me like a punch. He wasn't just another missing person, he had been real, and now he was lost forever in this tangled web of secrets. Melody. Jen's voice broke through my thoughts, drawing my attention back to her as she pointed toward something glimmering on the ground. I walked over cautiously, my heart racing anew as I knelt beside her. There lay an old compass, its needle spinning wildly, a symbol of direction lost amid chaos. "We need to keep moving," I urged, my voice steady despite how unnerved I felt inside. My father's warnings echoed in my mind. We had to confront this darkness head-on if we wanted any chance at survival, or understanding what had ensnared so many before us. The forest thickened around us, branches clawed at our clothes like desperate hands trying to drag us back into their depths. As we pressed forward through twisting paths laden with mystery, every rustle sent shivers racing along my skin. The chiming grew louder still, a siren's song that beckoned us deeper into its embrace. "Do you hear it?" Jen asked again, her voice barely above a whisper as she glanced around nervously. "It's calling," I replied firmly. "We can't ignore it any longer." At that moment, we stumbled upon another clearing, a stark contrast against the oppressive darkness surrounding it. In its center stood an ancient stone altar draped in vines and moss, its surface etched with symbols long forgotten by time. My breath caught in my throat as fear mingled with curiosity. It felt sacred yet cursed all at once. I approached cautiously, drawn toward it despite knowing it might hold answers or perilous traps laid by spirits who once roamed these lands. My fingers traced over carvings that felt warm beneath my touch, each groove pulsing with history and untold stories waiting to spill forth. Suddenly, an overwhelming sensation washed over me, a surge of emotions flooding my mind as fragments of memories intertwined with visions not entirely my own danced before me like fleeting shadows, laughter intertwined with screams, joy clashing violently against sorrow, faces morphing between familiar and unknown. "I don't think we should be here," Jen said softly beside me, her unease resonated within me like a warning bell ringing clear amidst chaos. But before I could respond or retreat from this place where worlds collided, the chiming crescendoed into a frantic symphony enveloping us entirely, each note resonating within our bones like thunder rolling across stormy skies. I felt myself pulled backwards suddenly, an invisible force urging me away from the altar, and in that instant, clarity struck. This wasn't merely about confronting legends or unraveling truths, it was about breaking free from cycles woven into our existence by those who came before us. "Run!" My voice broke through the din as instinct took over. Panic surged through every fiber of my being when instinct screamed that whatever resided here was hungry for more than mere knowledge, it craved souls lost between realms. We sprinted through the trees without looking back. Breathless urgency fueled our flight as we dashed toward safety, away from echoes that threatened to swallow us whole once more. My heart raced violently against my ribcage while adrenaline surged through every vein. I couldn't shake off thoughts about Michael Peterson and countless others whose names lingered on fading pages buried beneath time's relentless march forward. Finally breaking free from dense foliage, the world opened up ahead. The clearing brightened under moonlight, illuminating paths leading away from shadows closing in behind us. Gasping for air filled with relief mingled with lingering dread, we paused momentarily, allowing reality to wash over us slowly. In those woods lay truth hidden among whispers echoing eternally within haunted hearts bound by family secrets too heavy for anyone to bear alone. It was no longer just about survival but understanding what truly dwelled beyond sight, a force determined not only to claim lives but weave destinies entangled in darkness stretching back generations long forgotten. Today, when I look back at those moments spent entwined between light and shadow, I realize how fragile life truly is, how easily paths can twist unexpectedly beyond comprehension while leaving indelible marks upon souls left searching for answers yet unfulfilled. I wrote everything down, the story woven together like threads pulling taut, a warning echoing throughout these pages, hoping it could save someone else from falling prey to shadows lurking just beyond reach. And so now, if you find yourself wandering near those woods, heed this warning. Run if you hear bells ringing. Don't investigate their call, but instead seek refuge among light, where safety resides, far away from dark entanglements threatening your very essence itself. Did you like this story? Leave a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories.